All right, hello everybody. This is Sergio Torres with ACS Cloud Partners. This is our first FiberLookup Partner Portal and Pricing Pro demo of the year. So thank you for joining. For everybody that's here right now, thanks for being here. Anybody else that's dropping in and looking at this recording later, thanks for tuning in. We're going to give everybody access to these tools. Before we even begin, right, if you're looking at these tools and you're an ACS partner and wondering, what's your login or how do you get access, we're going to send everybody a copy of the recording. Just let us know if you don't have access to the Fiber Lookup. This is a proprietary tool that we open up to all ACS partners. And if you're looking at this recording and you're not an ACS partner yet, get in touch with us because this is one of the free tools that we offer our partners. It's a game changer. And as I'm going to go over today, you're going to see its capabilities, how it helps you get real-time pricing, real-time availability, and then send the customer an RFQ dashboard of everything and of all your findings. So really great stuff today. I'm actually going to kick it off by looking at our ACS partner portal. Let me just triple check I'm not on mute. All right. So this is our ACS partner portal. Every ACS partner is going to have access to this, and this is going to be the #1 resource to find all things about your ACS team, all things about the providers that we work with, the products that you have access to, and other great stuff like the marketing assets, videos, industry updates, things like that. So think of this as your one-stop shop, your hub for all things that are going on in the industry. And then also, most importantly, your ACS team, right? So this is the ACS team. So for every partner, it's going to look a little different, right? Depending on where you reside. If you're on the East Coast, West Coast, Central, Southeast, Northeast, we have different channel managers that represent that region and that represent you. So when you log into your ACS team, it might look a little different as far as who your channel manager is. But at its core, we support our partners very similarly, right? Every ACS partner has a dedicated channel manager. This dedicated channel manager is going to support you with all things regarding this relationship with ACS, right? Questions about your agreement, questions about sales strategy. That's really where they're going to thrive, right? And fun fact, every ACS channel manager has at least 13 plus years of experience. So you're working with industry veterans, people who are really seasoned at just all products and solutions that have worked with these vendors, that have these connections. So you're going to be in good hands. So just think of your channel manager as your go-to resource for all things ACS. Uh, every ACS partner also has a dedicated support manager, right? You always have questions about, did that order activate? Did it install? Did the technician show up on time? Things like that. That's where these support managers are really going to shine. They're also going to be very savvy about generating new order agreements, quoting support, right? Maybe your main channel manager's out for lunch, or maybe, they're off for the day. You'll always have somebody to back you up. And that's where that support manager is. Dedicated marketing manager. Your dedicated marketing manager will support you with things like helping generate email blast. We've done logos for partners, landing pages, even strategizing, targeting a specific demographic, right? Maybe you have a list of customers that you want to help renew services. We can help draft those emails, give you the HTML code so that you can fulfill it on your side, or walk you through on how to do that with your own email provider platform. So again, we're here to support you end to end, from sales, support, marketing, and of course, lastly, commissions. And that's my bread and butter, right? I'm the partner success manager. I'm happy to talk to partners about commissions, when you get paid, how you get paid, spiffs, incentives, all that fun stuff. Happy to have those conversations with you and really break it down in a very easy and digestible way. And then if there's anybody on your team, if you couldn't make this call today, if you want to have a call like this with your team, I'm happy to host these in front of your team and talk about our partner portal, our FiberLookup, PricingPro. And I think the team overall is going to be impressed with just the capabilities of both these platforms. So yeah, with that being said, this is just the homepage, right? You hit the homepage. This is the information you're greeted with. We also have industry updates, which are important to check out regularly, right? Any mergers, acquisitions, customer incentives, free Visa cards, all those promos that you're going to want to know about, you're going to find them on the industry updates page. And as you can see, we add stuff every week. So just constantly check on this and see what's new. Just some of the few different menus that we have available here on the partner portal. You have some quick links to your FiberLookup tool, the Pricing Pro, this dashboard. There's also an ACS automotive page. So another fun fact about ACS. So ACS has dedicated divisions across multiple industries. Some of those industries include automotive, retail, finance, healthcare space, real estate. These are industries where ACS has exclusive providers and unique solutions to offer those industry customers, right? So, as a technology consultant, you have access to virtually every internet, voice, cloud, and software provider, but being able to consult with your customers in these industries and provide them with curated solutions, sometimes that can be overwhelming. So we have these dedicated divisions where we've narrowed down the top providers, the best solutions that have been vetted, that have been tested, that are good, that are where we're seeing the most success in those sectors. So for automotive industry, for example, these are unique provider, and many of these are exclusive to ACS. I'll just say that out loud. These are providers you won't find with other TSDs. And for many of these, ACS was the first to on board with these providers before some of these other TSDs caught wind of that. But yeah, these are all different solution providers that cater to the automotive industry. And for many of them, they only work with automotive dealers. So they speak their language, they know about their CRM systems, they know about their dealer management systems, which helps these providers really resonate with these customers because they're speaking the same language versus throwing another UCaaS provider at them and then them not knowing about their customer needs, their department needs, right? So having this curated approach, these dedicated divisions, we're seeing huge success rates in these industries. So all that to say is, if you have an automotive customer and you're not working with ACS already, reach out to your ACS channel manager and you're going to be impressed at the solutions, how we'll take lead and support you in that opportunity and really win that over and impress your customers with our knowledge, with the solutions that we're able to provide. But yeah, just at a glance, these are some of the providers, right? Bird Eye does reputation management, Better Vantage Point. It's legal and risk mitigation for auto dealerships. Call Review, it's call tracking analytics specifically for auto dealerships that integrate to virtually every CRM, every DMS system. So these are just a few examples of these unique solution providers that thrive in this automotive space. Products, right? We have different menus where you can look at all the different products that are typical in this industry. You can select these products, see what providers are offering them. We're going to have unique docs for these different divisions, right? So for automotive, we have solutions by department. We have other solution provider provided assets that you can review and explore. But again, we want to help curate this for you, right? If you have an opportunity and you have a customer that's interested in about call tracking and analytics or payment processing, our marketing person, right, with Holly, which we saw earlier, she's going to support you with these things, making sure you have the right assets so that you can review that with your customer. These additional tabs, we have solutions tabs, right, where we talk about some of the main solutions we see in this industry: analytics and reporting, artificial intelligence, AI, data, networking, and then how they fit into the automotive division, right? So in our responses here, you're going to find that these answers are very curated, right? That's going to be the big takeaway from these divisions. It's all very curated solutions, curated feedback, curated support. You'll find some additional videos and then some frequently asked questions that you can always review. Next, orders. Partners want to know, where are my orders? I've submitted a few deals. Where can I review them? I'm on a test account, so I don't see anything on my end. However, if you're an ACS partner, or you're about to place your first deal with ACS, you're going to see all your orders in this My Orders section. You're going to see the order that you've entered, the provider, account number, MRC, term signed, and then also the status, right? Is the order installed? Is it pending? Was it disconnected? So this is going to give you that transparency to know that, hey, I've submitted these deals. I can see that ACS has already aligned these deals to my company. That way, we're always congruent with what you're placing and the orders that we have in our system. So every ACS partner has access to this, not to be confused with the commission statement, right? So partners have the orders, which is, orders that are installed but have not begun commissioning. Once your orders begin commissioning, you'll have access to them under your commission statements. Every ACS partner gets paid the 15th of each month. The 15th was what I think last Thursday. Every partner got an email saying, hey, your ACS commission report is ready. You'll get a link that takes you to this portal, and you'll be able to see how much commissions you have for the year. You'll be able to download a statement. Here's an example of what it would look like. You'll see this commission detail. It'll say January 2026, the amount, and you have a download button, and you'll have an Excel file where you can see all the orders you've placed, the providers, what the commissions are billing, full transparency as far as how much you're earning on your deals. And again, you guys can always reach out to me. We have a commissions department. You can always reach out to one of us if you have any questions on your commission statement. We're also very transparent on all the provider rates, right? If you go to commissions rate sheet, you'll see A through Z, all the different providers that we work with, their commission rates, and any caveats or conditions that you should be aware of as far as when working with these providers, right? Certain providers might pay a different product at a higher rate. So just little differences like that we outline throughout these different commission rate sheet. And I won't go into depth with this, but just know that you have access to it. We're fully transparent. We're constantly negotiating up these commission rates. So this stuff changes, right? Sometimes partners ask, hey, can you send me a list? And I'd love to send lists to every partner, but these rates change, right? We're constantly renegotiating our agreements, whether it be instilling stronger evergreen protections or other protections for our partners and their customers, or renegotiating a higher commission rate as we continue to bill and bill more for these providers. So that's why these commission rates can fluctuate. So this is going to be the most current and most up-to-date commission rate list. Spiff Finder, right? Every partner loves to know what are the latest spiffs. We just entered a new quarter, right? Q1 kicked off. Most of these providers update their spiffs on a month-to-month basis and also on a quarterly basis. So on the provider spiff section, you'll see what's available at this time. It's the 20th of the month. Sometimes we find providers take several weeks to actually release their spiffs. So be on the lookout for just new spiffs that arise in the months and the few weeks to come. But with that being said, you can search spiffs by product, right? Dedicated, internet, and you can see all the providers that are offering spiff for dedicated internet, right? Or maybe you have a SD-WAN product, SD-WAN, we type in WAN, and you can see there's two providers that offer SD-WAN, and you can earn a spiff on that, right? I will say this, the ACS commission team, and I know because I have my hand in that bucket, we are relentless when it comes to tracking your spiffs, proactively making sure that you're getting paid, because what we want our partners to do is focus on what they do best, right? Generating sales, supporting their customers, pleasing their customers. And then on the commission side, we don't want you guys to have to worry about, the tracking of your commissions, looking out for spiffs. Was there any spiffs, for that order? We have systems and processes in place to make sure that you guys are getting paid, that you're going to get paid on time, and you're going to get paid accurately. But these are available for you. That just, again, transparency is a big word over here at ACS, right? We want you guys to know what we're getting paid, what your portion is going to be. These are the flyers and the incentives directly from the providers themselves. You can download them here and explore those details. But again, we're going to be tracking this stuff for you on the back end. Next, let's jump into the providers section. So just a quick note about the providers that we're going to explore. The ACS portal shows the core portfolio of providers that we work with. You can kind of see from here, from A to Z, kind of have about 150, 200 providers on the portal. However, there are closer to 500 to 600 solution providers that we have access to, right? We're constantly building out new pages, adding new contacts. The reason we don't just add, hundreds more of these provider pages is that we're very detailed and very meticulous about adding all these provider pages. We want to make sure we have all the regional contacts, all their digital assets, right? Their marketing assets, their product assets. And so we're constantly working with these providers, adding new pages. But really, my main takeaway, but let the main takeaway be is if you don't see a provider that you're curious about, or maybe the customer's asking about, especially software providers, right, that you don't see on here, reach out to your ACS channel manager. 9 times out of 10, we have an agreement with them. We can earn a commissions. We have, we're going to have access to it, and then we're going to connect you to the right individual with that company. But what's nice is for the providers that we do have here, you can search up any provider, and it's going to take you to a page that looks very similar to this. It's going to have the provider info, right? We know all about the provider info, the description, the provider contacts, right? And I was talking about the importance, especially a lot of partners who are listening today, who, ACS has partners across the country, even internationally. So knowing which contacts are in your region, right? Eastern region contacts, and even by state, right? Maybe you're in Tennessee or maybe you're in Florida. You want to connect to the correct channel manager that's in your region, right? So we're very meticulous when it comes to setting up these regional contacts. But again, just to demonstrate, all the different contacts that we have put together for these different provider pages. And again, the provider contacts are going to be key when submitting orders, and also key whenever there's a complex issue that might require a manual review from a representative at that company. However, you're not alone. Your ACS channel manager is gonna help make these introductions, is gonna help advise on the next steps, right? So even though you have access to these contacts, if you've already been working with some of these contacts, by all means, right, you can still continue to work with them under ACS. But I don't want to overwhelm any partners who are seeing 20, 30 contacts for a provider. Just rest assured your ACS channel manager is going to lead the conversations in a lot of this. They're going to keep you in the loop and tell you what the process is and the procedures. So just to give you that peace of mind. You have access to different docs, right? Explore different products, solutions. Again, on the product side, you can explore, what products does this provider offer? And then pricing, right? There's going to be pricing sheet for a lot of these different providers. However, the pricing is going to be obsolete because PricingPro has real-time pricing, which we'll look at very shortly. For the vast majority of these providers, you're going to find that it's going to be way more accurate, way more efficient, and way more effective to utilize PricingPro to generate that real-time pricing for your customers. And we'll look at that very, very shortly. Commissions, right? We'll have the commission rates listed on all of these provider pages. Transparency, right? That's the name of the game. So you'll see all the provider commission rates for every single one of these provider pages. If there's any spiffs, you'll find those there too. And then frequently asked questions, right? These are questions that we've curated that we've noticed have come up multiple times for partners or for customers, right? How do I renew? How do I upgrade? So we have broken down some of those processes. We have the products page here. I won't spend too much time on the products page. Really, the one thing I'd like for you guys to know is that for any of the products that you search here, also pay attention to the other products, right? We're not just data, network, and security. We're also payment processing, reputation management, physical security, telecom expense management, advertising, SEO, website. If there's a solution that your customer is looking for, 9.9 times out of 10, there is a vendor that we work with, that we have an agency agreement with, where we can earn a commission, where we're going to get supported, and we can offer a solution for your customers so that overall they get a better experience. You look like a superhero, and then you earn a commission on that order. So yeah, just explore some of these different products that we offer here at ACS. And what's nice is that for any one of these, you can select, let's say if we're looking at security, maybe we're looking at firewall, you're actually going to populate all the different providers that offer that solution, right? If I go to providers here, you'll see some of the few providers in our portfolio that offer that solution. But again, work with your ACS channel manager. They're going to be the best resource for really helping really cut through the noise, right? There's so many vendors that have overlapping products, right? How do you know which UCaaS provider or phone system provider to choose from? They're going to have that insight and knowledge about your, depending on your customer's industry, depending on where they're located, depending on what internet they're running, all those factors to give you the best advice. So with that being said, that was an overview of our ACS partner portal. Kind of jumped around and, maybe skip some parts, but, the main takeaway is this is your go-to portal for provider resources, provider assets, but also for your ACS information, right? If maybe you take 3 weeks off, you go on a cruise, you come back and you say, hey, who's my ACS contacts? Log into your partner portal and you'll know exactly who you need to be working with. Next, now for our bread and butter, the FiberLookup tool. There's a quick link here. And here we are. So this is the ACS FiberLookup tool, right? The ACS FiberLookup tool is a proprietary tool built exclusively for ACS partners. So what that means is that every ACS partner gets access to this tool. It's not a third-party tool. It's not licensed. This is developed, maintained, and built for ACS partners. So when you log into this tool, it's very easy to utilize. First, you'll be prompted to enter an address. I already have an address in mind, 614 South Grand. Okay, very important. When you look up your address, sometimes we have tendency to just hit enter and you might run into an error. These addresses are powered by Google, right? So if you can locate the address on Google, you're going to be able to locate it on FiberLookup. So what you want to do is actually manually select the address once you've identified it, right? If you still don't identify it, keep typing other keywords, right? Type in the zip code and then see what populates. So let's see, I'm going to go back a few. So this is going to be 614 South Grand, Los Angeles. And all you're going to do is hit lookup. That's how easy it is to look up an address, right? You just punch it in, hit lookup. And this is good to demonstrate, right? So I purposely selected an address that didn't have a number in the front, right? Because sometimes partners run into this, right? You have an address or maybe you have like half of a company name. If you ever notice that the house icon is in the middle of the street, or maybe it looks like it's on a field, it's a good chance there's an issue with your address. And if you look up here, there's an address mismatch, right? So the system recognizes, hey, there's an error with the address entered. No problem. You just hit new lookup, verify the address, right? Maybe you got the zip code incorrect, or maybe you're looking at the wrong state, and then you can try again, right? But again, looking up an address is really easy. So this is South Grand. This is going to be Los Angeles. So this is a great example, right? I'm looking up 614 South Grand. Look at all these different cities that have a similar address, right? San Pedro, Pasadena, Glendora. And I'm kind of working off memory. Let's see. And then here's another tip, right? After you've entered multiple addresses, you can go to your search history and you can actually see all the different addresses that you've searched. And here I recognize the address. I can hit the little eye icon. And it's going to rerun that search. So again, just makes it really easy to track the different addresses you've entered. You can name them by different things, right? And if you don't want to name them by the address, you can call it, Pizza Hut Opportunity. and that way you can just rerun that address. So here's my issue, right? I was looking up 614, the address is 624, right? So that was on me, and I was just kind of working off memory there. But now that we've entered an address, we'll give this a quick second, right? So if you're an ACS partner, you're looking at this for the first time, you're probably wondering, hey, this is amazing. There's tons of information. What am I looking at? So first and foremost, to interpret your address results, you're going to want to look at two things, right? You're going to have this physical satellite map where you're going to get the bird's eye view of the address you've entered. You're going to notice all of these different clusters, right? Especially in very populated areas. You're going to notice that the system's going to consolidate multiple providers that might be in a specific space, and they're going to consolidate through this list. If you'd like to see the expanded view, very easy, just hit uncluster. And that's going to expand the selection. It's going to unconsolidate those providers so that you can really see all those providers stacked one over another, depending on your preference. To view the location results, also very easy. Over here on the top left-hand side, this is going to be the best way to interpret the results for your address. But you're going to notice two things really quickly. All of these spinning wheels, right? What does this mean? There are loading wheels. This is because FiberLookup utilizes real-time APIs where for every address that you search, the FiberLookup is making a real-time request to all of these different provider systems. This is how we ensure that the availability is accurate and that the status is correct, right? These statuses are going to be super important when it comes to determining the availability for the customer. So just to recap, this is the address we entered. These are the location results for that address. And what we've done is we've actually broken it down by provider category. For instance, shared internet providers, we have Spectrum Coax, we have this green result. For all of these different statuses, I highly encourage partners to hit that information icon and interpret those results or get additional details. Green indicates status is serviceable, proceed with installation truck roll. That's the best result we can get for Spectrum Coax. For these other dedicated fiber providers, right? This is from this building alone. GTT's on net, Zayo, Megaport, Comcast, Verizon, Cox, Spectrum Fiber, Lumen. All of these providers are on net. But you'll notice they have different statuses. And this is where the FiberLookup really outshines some of these other tools that exist out there. We have statuses that go further into detail. They don't just say it's available. It tells you, is it on net? Is it on net 60 to 90 days, right? What does that even mean? You hit that information icon. Fiber is either to the curb or at the minimum point of entry. This has a B4 code. Some work might be needed, 60 to 90 day install. That is intense clarity that's going to help set the right expectation for customers. And that's the kind of clarity that really helps build a trust when you're working with your customers. So I encourage all our partners, as you're looking through these different available providers, really look at their statuses to find out more about this specific location and that status. For every one of these opportunities, you'll also have access to dedicated internet resellers. These are wholesale resellers that are going to resell that last mile of fiber. AirSpring, Fusion, NightCell, they're going to be great for that multi-location opportunity. They're also going to be very competitive, right? When we look at PricingPro and generate real-time pricing, sometimes it's going to be more cost effective to go with one of these wholesalers versus the underlying provider that they're reselling. So we include them just to make sure that we're covering all our bases. And then look at this section for fixed wireless providers. Beyond Reach, right? They're a wholesaler nationwide, so you're going to see them on multiple opportunities. They're going to be near net. BAI Connect, OnNet, GeoLinks is in territory, Earthlink is available, and TowerStream is in territory, right? A lot of time for these fixed wireless providers, line of sight is going to be the most crucial. They're going to put that satellite or that antenna on that rooftop as long as there isn't obstructions. Sometimes in these downtown areas, it can be very difficult, right? You have high-rise buildings, you have big trees. So sometimes these providers will have difficulties in these areas. But for other opportunities where, maybe there is no obstruction, line of sight is not an issue, or for rural or hard to reach customers, fixed wireless is going to be an amazing option. Satellite internet providers, right? We have access to Hughes. We also have access to Starlink, right? That's been very popular. A lot of customers have been asking for that. We have access to sell Starlink, so that's going to be available all through the Fiber Lookup tool. So at a glance, right, we entered an address and already we're kind of greeted with just all this information about all these different providers. Granted, this is a data center in Los Angeles, right? When you're looking up opportunities, you probably won't see, 20 different providers that are available in that building. But but just to illustrate, the ability of the fiber lookup, what it's capable of, and how thorough it is at providing this information. When you're looking up addresses, you're probably going to see 2 or 3 different competing providers, right? And really, as a partner, what you're thinking is, who's the current internet service provider for my customer? And then who can I introduce them to, right? One of the biggest rules of engagements for most of these providers is, if a customer has Spectrum, you can't resell them Spectrum. You have to introduce or sell them into a new provider. So that's something you'll keep in mind. Also, for partners who are really just starting off, if this feels like a lot, work with your ACS channel manager, or we can set up a separate call where we dive into this a little more closely with your team and just help you interpret these results, how you're able to prospect using this tool, and then how you're able to consult your customer based off these results. But just some cool stuff that you have access to on the Fiber Lookup. You can toggle on labels, right? Maybe you want to see the business that you're looking at. Maybe you want to verify that you're looking at the right business. For some of these multi-tenant buildings, you'll see all these different labels. You can also toggle off some of the different providers, right? Maybe you only want to see, hey, I want to see only the Zayo only buildings, right? Or maybe there's or only the Lumen buildings, right? Where Lumen is on net. So you can toggle that off and on. Same thing for shared and internet providers. You can toggle that off and on. Data center providers, I can toggle that on. I can see this is data bank data center. Fun fact for data centers, you can zoom out extremely far and you'll actually see all the data center providers, or at least the ones that we have in this tool at the moment, that span across the country and into Canada, right? So depending on the data center customers or customers who are asking about specific data center locations, you're going to be able to verify that with this tool. So very cool stuff. Next, we have fiber paths, right? So we can actually toggle on the fiber paths from these providers. We'll give it a quick second. And as you can see, I'm going to toggle off some of these providers. You can see how these fiber paths span. If I zoom out here, it's really a thing of beauty, right? You can see the fiber path overlay throughout the city, right? Just a key fact about the fiber paths, there are different access points within the fiber paths. So sometimes, let's say you're looking at this building or you're prospecting, you're like, hey, I see the fiber path is running right, parallel to this building. A lot of times for these providers, access points, might be at the end or at the top. So just keep that in mind, right? It's just to be careful in, advising the customer or letting them know you just, potentially misleading information. Just verify with your ACS team. The fiber paths are really good for customers who have planned builds, right? Where you can anticipate where they might be able to draw fiber from. Larger builds too, their fiber paths are going to be really helpful where even if the access point isn't in front of the building, but they have a really big bandwidth need, they're going to be a really competitive provider to select from just because they're running parallel down that street, right? And again, your ACS channel manager is going to help you set up that conversation with these providers, verify where those access points are, and ultimately find out, what's going to be feasible for your customer. So this is the fiber lookup at a glance, right? And I know I've kind of taken a lot of pit stops along the way, but when you're utilizing this tool, you're going to find that the fiber lookup is extremely fast, right? 30 seconds or less. You're going to get real-time availability. You're going to be able to toggle on all the different labels, satellite view. There's also this additional view, which is just a map view, right? The satellite view is good also for looking at terrain, mountain areas, train tracks, things like that. We looked at data centers, the fiber network paths. But now you're ready to get pricing, right? So what does that look like? If you utilize Pricing Pro, it's just a button. This is going to allow you to get real-time pricing for that address you selected. We'll just give us a quick second. Also, for any one of these addresses, you can rename the RFQ here, right? So instead of, we saw earlier how you can search your history. When we generate an RFQ, we're going to want to name this something, right? So let's just say this is Tech Guys LLC, right? That way you have your opportunities, you're able to reference them with ease. You can select your product category depending on the customer's need or their budget. Just really quickly about the Pricing Pro, right? Pricing Pro is real-time availability. Excuse me. Pricing Pro is real-time availability, not only for internet, it also does SIP trunks, POTS lines, POTS replacements, and in the near future, we'll have other product categories like UCaaS, hosted VoIP. So Pricing Pro is going to generate real-time pricing for all of these different product solutions, and it's very easy to use. So for instance, I've selected dedicated internet. I can select the different providers. So I clicked on AT&T. I can see there's a review required, right? Maybe at a glance, you're like, I don't want to show the customer that. I don't want to confuse them. I only want to give them the options that are on net, right? So Astound is on net. Earthlink is available. Nitel's available, right? Maybe we do one more provider like GeoLinks in territory. Shared internet providers. We saw Spectrum Coax was green, right? We can do that 1 gig quote. So just to keep this RFQ simple for your customer, we're just going to look at the internet side or the data side. We'll keep this apples to apples, right? For dedicated internet, we'll do 50 meg, no static IP. We'll do this on a 3-year term. And I'm just kind of selecting that across the board. That way they have a really symmetrical quote that I can provide the customer with. 50 meg, 3-year term. We'll do the 1 gig month to month without Wi-Fi router. Now we'll hit run pricing. So this is the RFQ dashboard. And you're going to notice a couple things, right? First and foremost, on the top right-hand side, with your FiberLookup login, this is going to be your information. If there's anything you want to change here, your email, your profile picture, your LinkedIn address, you can go under profile and you can change that, even your logo, right? That way it's your company logo. The reason why that's important is that once you modify this RFQ and it's been curated for how you want to present this to the customer, you can send the customer a link to this RFQ dashboard so that they can review all their options, right? So here I'm going to put the customer's name. I'm going to put the decision maker that I'm working with, right? This is John Smith. He's the IT manager. The reason we do this is because we want it to feel like it's a very customized quote for the customer. And this is super critical, right? Email. This is going to be the customer's email. Put my email for now. This is the email that's going to receive a link to the RFQ dashboard. So at a glance, if we look at dedicated internet, and we saw those spinning wheels just a second ago, right? That's their real-time APIs, right? Again, partners have asked me, hey, Sergio, how do I know this pricing is accurate? These pricings come directly from the providers themselves. We are, when you hit that Pricing Pro button, it is making a real-time request to these provider systems to generate that real-time pricing. So at a glance, we can compare total cost here because sometimes there's speed costs, any install costs that we need to look out for. So we're just looking at the total cost. Let's say you have 4 different provider options. You're like, I don't want to overwhelm my customer. Let's remove anything that just seems, incredibly expensive or just not in their budget. So now we have 3 provider options. We have their status, in territory, available. We have their speed cost. And then on the shared internet side, we have the pricing for that 1 gig, right? 1 gig month to month, 115. Pay attention to anytime you see this status that says view note, right? This is always going to provide some pertinent information or important information that your customers should know about, right? So for Spectrum Coax, rates will go up after the first 12 months. Very typical. They've been doing this for years. So basically it says after the 13th month, there's going to be a slight increase in that monthly reoccurring charge. But again, we want to set that expectation correct with the customer. So once you're satisfied with your RFQ dashboard, you can email a pricing text or email the customer a link to this dashboard. So the pricing text is really easy. It's just going to be a plain text email that's going to have a table like this. And it's going to say, you know, hey, John, here's, you know, it's going to give them a blank text table. Preferably, and this is what I advise partners, you know, once you review this pricing, you know it's accurate, you're going to email the customer. The system's automatically going to greet them and say, hello, John, or hello, Amy. You know, all you need to do is say, please review the RFQ. Let me know if you have any questions. And the system's also going to generate this text. You can review the RFQ from this link, and it's going to populate a link. And I'll show you guys very shortly what that looks like. So just to recap, we looked at the FiberLookup. We saw the real-time availability. We utilized PricingPro to generate real-time pricing. And now we're utilizing the RFQ dashboard to present the customer with our findings, right? So in just a second, the email address that's listed here, right? Hypothetically, this is the customer's email address. They're going to get an email, and I'm going to get it in just a second. They're going to get an email that says, hey, John, please review this RFQ that's been prepared for you for Tech Guys LLC at this address. And it's going to have a link. That link's going to bring them to this page here, right? They're going to open that link from their browser, and it's going to bring them this page here. So now what we're looking at is this is the customer's view. I'm the customer now looking at what's being presented to me. For the customer view, they're not going to see these this option to delete, right? Because we're signed in, we have the ability to modify this further, right? If we're looking at this, we're like, hey, 405 is not going to work, right? You're able to modify this for the customer. But on the customer's link, they're going to see the really clean dashboard, the different provider logos, the different provider categories. They're going to see, yep, that's my name up there. This is my company. I know this is curated for me. And now the customer, once they're satisfied with this, they can either hit request order, which is going to send you an automatic email. It's going to send the ACS partner an automatic email that says, hey, your customer, John Smith with Tech Guys LLC, has just accepted the order for Earthlink 50 meg 375. And then from there, you can work with your ACS channel manager and say, hey, John, hey, PJ, hey, David, my customer has just accepted this order. Let's get paperwork going. And that's where your ACS team and your support manager are going to work very efficiently for you to generate that paperwork to get it over to the customer. For some of these providers, right, I think AT&T Shared Fiber, their ABF product, the customer is actually going to be able to hit request order and get a pop-up where they're going to be able to actually fill out their information and generate a real contract binding agreement directly from PricingPro. And that's the future for a lot of these providers, right? Where we're going to integrate that contract directly from this tool. That way we don't have to do manual, contract generating on the back end. It's going to happen directly from this RFQ dashboard. One other thing to know about the RFQ dashboard, anytime that your customer is pulling this up, you're going to get an email that says, hey, partner, your customer, John Smith, has just opened or has just reviewed the Tech Guys LLC quote, right? And then later, when you go to your RFQ history, you can pull up that RFQ dashboard anytime. You're going to see this little hidden window called RFQ data. Only you will see this. Customers won't have access to this. You're going to see how many times the customer's opened. You're going to be able to modify the opportunity. Is it still closed? Is it open? And the RFQ dashboard, and really what we built here at PricingPro, is kind of like a mini CRM, right? What's the close percentage you're still presenting to the customer? you're still in the decision phase. And the reason you have these options is that when you look at your RFQ history, you're going to be able to filter by, hey, you clock in the morning, you're looking at, everything that's still being presented. You can filter by all those opportunities are in the presentation phase, what's in the negotiation phase, what's still information gathering, right? You still need the customer's verbal or still working on, and you're going to be able to filter by all these different percentages. So yeah, between the FiberLookup and PricingPro, there is a plethora of information. Sometimes it can be a little overwhelming at a glance, and I kind of took my time and really looked at every feature. The main takeaway for partners is if you would like a deeper dive with you and your team, I'd be happy to lead this call, and I'd be happy to kind of be more specific in my demo, right? If you really want us to just hone in on the availability stuff or on the pricing stuff or on the RFQ dashboard and how to send that over to customers accurately and present that in the best way, more than happy to do that for you and your team. And then same thing for the partner portal, right? If there's any questions or overview that you'd like to see on the partner center so that you can feel more equipped about the ACS team that supports you or the tools and resources at your disposal, I'd be happy to expand on that. We've kind of we're right at the hour now. We're going to send all our partners a copy of this recording. Again, if you need access to these tools, please get access to these tools. They're completely free for ACS partners. I'll take a moment to see if there's any questions. Let me pull up the chat here. Great. Looks like there's no questions. I just want to thank everybody who joined us today for joining this call. Again, we're going to send the recording and we'll have another call next month. And next month, we're going to ramp things up, right? The FiberLookup is constantly being enhanced. The partner portal, there's always new providers that we're onboarding. So we're going to have something very special for you guys next month. But thank you for tuning in for the first FiberLookup and partner portal demo of the month. It's been productive, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. Thank you.